Welcome and thank you for standing by. Currently, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to your host for today, Wendy Peoples.
Thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Wendy Peoples, Census Bureau Economic Management Division, and I'm delighted that you have joined today to celebrate our series of webinars for World Trade Month. World Trade Month is celebrated in May, and we want to recognize the importance of international trade and the many benefits it brings. International trade strengthens and positively impacts our communities and the U.S. economy. Today, we will feature live schedule HS commodity classification, providing you with a data tool that will assist you with your daily business operations in growing your exports globally, as well as reporting accuracy. In addition, we will offer webinars, as you see here on the slide, May 15th and the 22nd. The next webinar will be titled Puerto Rico Data Resources, in which we will showcase Census new experimental data products that features monthly business applications for U.S. territory, as well as some of the International Trade Branch Puerto Rico specific data resources. And to close out our series, the last webinar will be on May 22nd and will feature robust data tools. And we will provide a demonstration on how to navigate the trade tools on our website. For the next 2 Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we hope you will join us. The login instructions for those webinars will be placed in the chat for your convenience. And following the end of this webinar, we ask that you complete our evaluation. This assists us in planning future content. So this is your webinar today for obtaining the classification of your merchandise. So please feel free to present your commodity descriptions. And at this time, I will pass it over to Patrick Kuhn to begin. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Wendy. Yes, as Wendy mentioned, I am Patrick Kuhn. I'm a manager in the microanalysis branch of the Economic Indicators Division at the U.S. Census Bureau. And this webinar will be on HS commodity classification. Before we get going, just a little housekeeping. There are about 3 slides or so. Then I'll jump into the Schedule B search engine, do a walkthrough of that. After I do a walkthrough of that, then we will talk about, open it up to the audience for Q&A with regard to classifying your product. But first, our contact information. If you do need to reach us for classifying your product or for any questions with export-related trade issues, feel free to email us at eid.scheduleb@census.gov. We also operate a call center at 1-800-549-0595. We are option 2. We do have other branches in Census that oversees the export regulations. So if you have a question about regulations, that's also on the call center. Or if you have a question about the AES branch and filling out your EEI, that's also an option on the call center as well. But this one is going to be on commodity classification. So this slide kind of details an example of an HS classification number. With regard to the US, there are 2 classification systems, 2 HS-based systems. We have the Harmonized Tariff Schedule, which is used to classify imports into the US. And we have the Schedule B, which is used to classify exports. Obviously, on this one, we're going to focus on exports, but there is some crossover between the HTS and the Schedule B, so just keep that in mind. And we might, over the course of the webinar, talk on some of the similarities or some of the differences as they arise. But on this slide, it's key to point out the first 6 digits here, what's called the subheading. And the subheading of each one of these HS numbers will be universal across all WCO member countries, all World Customs Organization member countries. And each country, if they wish, is free to break out their HS code further. And the US does this. We break it out to the full 10 digits. And the US does this for 2 reasons. First off, at the statistical level, this is where we at Census come in. We publish trade statistics at the full 10-digit level on both import and exports. At the 8-digit level, that's where duties and tariffs are applied on the HTS only, so only on imports. So those are the 2 reasons that the US uses the full 10-digit code. And our next slide here, this is a snapshot of our website, census.gov/Schedule B. On our website, we have 4 main links that you might find useful. The first is the link in the oval here to the Schedule B search engine. The search engine is the tool that analysts in my branch use, and it's the tool that we want you in the trade community to use as well when you're classifying your product for export. We also have a link to browse some Schedule B codes. So you can browse the current year, 2024, browse previous years. You'll see the codes and their resulting descriptions. You can also download some text files of codes. Again, you can see the Schedule B code and their descriptions. And then lastly, you can view some obsolete codes. So these Schedule B codes and HTS codes, they can be updated every January and July. And new products are coming on the market all the time. And so we do take requests from the public or trade associations to create new classifications. And if a new code is published, you'll see that here under the obsolete codes. And you'll see the old code as well as the resulting new codes under the obsolete list here. But now let's go to our website here. And this is our website, census.gov/Schedule B. And the first link is the search engine. And so this is, again, the main tool that we use in the microanalysis branch, and is the tool we want you in the trade community to use as well. So a couple things before we begin with the classification. I do want to point out we have links to certain training videos here. We have links to USA Trade Online, which is the official source of all U.S. import and export trade statistics. So here and here. Our contact information, again, is listed down below. And there's also a link to help I want to point out. This kind of demonstrates some additional functionality of the search engine. So you can feel free to peruse this at your leisure. But the main part of the tool is up here where it says describe your product. And so if you hover next to the icon here where it says describe your product, you'll get an idea of how you can kind of go about classifying your product or searching using the search engine. So in this example, the individual is trying to classify frozen peas. So they might type in peas, frozen. So you want to put the descriptor after the product. If you happen to know the subheading, the first 6 digits, or you happen to know you want to type in just the first 2 digits, or maybe type in the full 10 digits of a code, you can type in the code, and the tool will take you to that classification if it exists. And finally, if you're exporting, say, a chemical and you're trying to classify a chemical, we have a nice feature where you can put in the CAS number. This gives you the format of how to put in the CAS number. And this should take you right to the classification for that chemical if it exists. Now, there are tons of different chemicals. Our system does recognize some of them. It does not recognize every CAS number. So keep that in mind. But let's get started with just a very basic walkthrough. We'll classify, say, something like a shirt. So I type in shirt, and you can see the tool kind of pre-populates some possible choices. I hit classify. Eventually the tool will load, hopefully.
Patrick, it's Crystal.
Yep.
We're having issues with the search engine right now.
Okay.
Most inopportune time.
Yes. Okay, yeah, and as Crystal said, we just got word that the search engine is down. Let me pull up a PowerPoint here. So we do have a PowerPoint with some screenshots of the search engine. This won't be as exciting, but we can go through it here. Okay, so this is going to be just snapshots of the Schedule B search engine, and I'll try my best to kind of detail what's going on and how to use the features of the tool here. Hopefully, maybe in about 20 minutes, the tool will be up and running, but we will find out. So again, describe your product. You hit classify. And this is the resulting slide once you hit classify. The tool will sometimes make assumptions about the product. In this case, we typed in grape jelly, and it wants to know if what type of confectionery the product is. It also asks some questions of the user. In this case, it wants to know about the homogeneity of the fruit jelly. Is it homogenized or no? If you want the definition of, say, homogenized, you can hover over the asterisk, and up would pop a definition for what that term means. It is good habit to kind of go through the assumed characteristics because the tool doesn't always make correct assumptions about your product because you do know your product the best. So here is like an example of the hovering over this little asterisk, you would see this definition for homogenized preparations and so forth. All right, so then once you make a choice, you can see, oops, one too many slides there. So once you make a choice, the tool will eventually filter down to where you can get, you can see different subheadings or maybe a full 10-digit Schedule B number. In this case, we're brought to heading 2007, jams, fruits, and jellies, and marmalades. We can then hit this the plus sign. You can always expand the option, all the choices. And this would give us resulting codes from this expansion under heading 200799. You can see we expanded that plus sign, and now we get pastes and purees, and then we get other. And again, for Schedule B purposes, and anytime you classify something for the US, either import or export, you always want the full 10-digit code. Schedule B, full 10-digit code. Don't stop here at the subheading. We want the full 10-digit code. So in this case, if our grape jelly was a paste or a puree, 2007998000 would be the code. If it wasn't, we default to the other here, 2007999000. In both cases, you want to look at the right-hand column, which is the unit of measure, which is in kilograms. So quantity 1 would be in kilograms in this situation. And then one other thing to get in a good habit of is to go to the notes. So if we go back a slide, if you select this tab up here where it says legal notes, and this will take you to the slide and we'll give you the notes of the section and of the chapter. And the notes are nice because they offer the final say as to what goes into that chapter. So for example, in section 4 here, you might get certain definitions as well, like pellets. You get the definition of pellets for section 4. But in chapter 20, it says this chapter does not cover the following. So you always want to take a look at the notes because maybe you're trying to classify a product that falls into one of these exceptions. And it might tell you, okay, your vegetables, fruits, or nuts prepared or preserved by certain processes specified in chapter 7 or 8 or 11. That wouldn't go into chapter 20. Bakers, wares, and so forth, that would be chapter 19 heading, 1905 heading. So get in the habit of kind of looking at the legal notes because that will offer the final say as to what goes in that chapter. So that was a quick walkthrough of the slides. I think the tool is still down. Oh, no, it's up. Okay. So real fast, I'll kind of recap my example here. So again, I type in shirt. And we get some assumptions, which again, you want to look at those assumptions. And in this case, for the shirt, it makes some assumptions about the condition of the shirt. It assumes the condition, it's not an antique, it's not worn or other. You want to know the definition of worn, hover over the asterisk, and this will give you the definition. It assumes there's no magnetic property. It assumes the characteristics is not a toy or collection of a scientific or historical interest. It assumes the constituent is not gut, bladder, or tendon. It's not impregnated, coated, or covered with, or laminated with fabric. It makes assumptions about the end user. That's not a domestic animal. It assumes the shirt is not for a festive, carnival, or other entertainment occasion. It assumes there's no special feature like it's lined with fur skin, lined with artificial fur, and so forth. It assumes the composition is not made of leather or fur skin, artificial fur, and so forth. And again, hover over the asterisk and get the definition. And then finally, it assumes the style is not sleeveless. If one of those cases was incorrect, go ahead and make the correct choice, and this tool will take you to the correct code. But in this case, we'll assume the assumptions are correct. Now the tool wants to know about the construction of this shirt. Is it knitted or crocheted or other? In this case, we're going to say other. And so now it wants to know about the gender or life stage. Is it men's or boys, babies, or other? Well, what's the definition of babies? In this case, babies, if you hover over the asterisk, you can see it's articles of clothing for young children of a body height not exceeding 86 centimeters. And so you can kind of see in this example some of the detail that you might find yourself in when you're trying to classify a product, because that would definitely not be the definition of babies that I would think of. So in this case, we'll say men's or boys. And now it wants to know about the composition of this shirt. What percentage is cotton, man-made fiber, or other? Again, hover over the asterisk for the man-made fiber definition. And we'll say 75% cotton, 25% man-made fiber. In this case, make sure they sum to 100, hit accept, and you're brought right to the codes here. Notice the heading 6205 for men's or boys t-shirts, the subheading 620520 of cotton. Then we're under cotton, we're left with dress shirts or other shirts. If it's a dress shirt, this would be your code. If not, this would be your code. Notice unit of measure in both cases, dozens and kilograms. So in this case, quantity 1 would be in dozens, and quantity 2 would be in kilograms. And as I mentioned before, check the legal notes, because the legal notes do offer the final say as to what goes in this chapter. So you can kind of see this chapter does not cover the following. Woven, knitted, or crocheted fabrics. So if you recall, the first option, it asked us if it wanted to select woven, knitted, or crocheted. If we did, that would take us to chapter 39 or 40 and so forth. We also see some maybe definitions. Let's see. So like high tenacity yarn, what does that mean? That's expressed in centinewtons per tex. What does that mean? What's tenacity? How's tenacity measured? You can see that. What does made up mean? What's that definition? What's the definition of, say, unbleached yarn, bleached yarn, colored, dyed, or printed yarn? And kind of the reason I'm highlighting this is you can see the detail. And we take phone calls and emails all the time from exporters or filers who are trying to classify some products. And we're going to pull up this tool just like you in the trade community can pull up this tool. And we're going to be asking the caller on the other end of the phone saying, hey, how much does this weigh? How wide is the product? What color is it? What's the power source? And a lot of times the caller doesn't have the answer to these questions because some of these classifications can get pretty detailed and hinge on some of these definitions. And the point I'm making is we're not experts about your product. We're going to turn to you to be the expert of the product. We're here to help kind of walk you through the classification, but we might not necessarily have the right answer. We're just here to assist. So a lot of times I recommend to callers, it's best to take this search engine tool and show it to the individual in your company who knows the ins and outs of your product, knows how much it weighs, knows the power source, knows the capacities and so forth of that product, because they're going to know some of these definitions because they're probably in the industry related to that product and so forth. So they might know the definitions, they might know some of these key terms and so forth, and they're going to have the answers to a lot of these questions. So with that said, who has a product that if you want to raise your hand, we can kind of walk through a classification? Let's see. All right, looks like John. Could we just John. Could we unmute John?
Yes, John, can you go ahead and unmute yourself? He is unmuted, but we cannot hear him.
Okay, I see him in the chat. Looks like he asked a question. Could you type about your product in the chat, John? Or the Q&A?
Okay, while we're waiting for John, is there someone else that has a question?
He just put his product. It's a full grain leather backpack. So I'll classify this, then we can go to Jennifer Russell, who I see is next. So for full grain leather backpack, it's best with the searching for your product to keep it very broad. So I might just type in just backpack. Hit classify. I do apologize, but sometimes the search engine goes down.
I think Mercury might be in retrograde again.
So John, with regard to your backpack, a lot of times what you're going to find with classifications is I'm going to search for backpack and it's going to ask me, what is it made of? And that's a lot of times you're going to find that's going to drive the classification for any product, really. It's going to ask, is it made of, is your backpack made of like felt, or is it made of leather, or is it made of like, some polymer or something like that? And so that's going to drive the classification. And so hopefully it's going to give me a list of like plastics, metals, even though you're not going to have a metal backpack, but it's going to give me a list of things that the backpack could be comprised of. And we're going to select leather, and then hopefully it should take me right there to a code for leather backpack. All right, the team is working to reset the search engine here. So hopefully it can be up fairly quickly, just like last time. You're also trying to obtain sales data. Okay, so all right, so here we go. So I typed in backpack, I hit search, and it says, what about the composition? We can go through the assumed characteristics first. So it assumes it's not an antique. It assumes there's no magnetic property. It assumes it's not a toy. Constituent, no. Surface, sheeting material. Plating material, end use, containing tea, composition. No, none of that. So none of that assumed characteristics looks like it applies. But composition, it wants to know about leather, plastic, paper, textile, or other. So in this case, you said it's a full leather grain backpack. So we select leather. And then we're brought to heading 4202, which is trunks, suitcases, vanity cases, briefcases, all these cases and handbags and so forth. And we hit the plus sign to expand the other choices, and it says with an outer surface of leather or of composition leather. And if it's a golf bag, this will be our code. But in this case, it's a backpack, so you would use this. So 4202910040. And the unit of measure would be NO, in this case for numbers, so number of backpacks that you're exporting. So again, you can kind of see how the composition drives the classification. So there's not necessarily just one code for backpack. It's a lot of times, what is the backpack made of? Is it made of a plastic or a leather or textile material? So that's John. So I believe Jennifer Russell is next. Can we unmute Jennifer?
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
Thank you for the presentation. And yeah, we are manufacture the parts for firearms and accessories.
Okay.
So I have two different items that I would like help.
Sure.
One is a like an anti-walk-in pen set that use it with the triggers, and another one is like like a M lock that you put the swivels over the so you can carry the part,
Okay.
the firearm. So because I'm using search engines all the time, but it's just very hard for me to find the correct. I can use the correct. I want to make sure it's the correct one.
Okay. So you said a pin set, like for the trigger?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not too familiar with.
It's like a little accessory that used with the triggers, but if you look at the
So pin set.
it's a PIN.
A PI. Okay.
Pin set. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
It's you make with metal.
Okay. So let's see. So we might try, say, pin set. I have no idea where that's going to go, but we can try pin set. Also, on the top of my mind, I think there's a code for maybe like firearm accessories. And so that might be a case of where this would be classified.
So I have some the ones I already classified, can I send a email to you? And
Yes.
maybe you can help to confirm if I classified correct.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. So, eid.scheduleb@census.gov. You can definitely reach out to us there. Let us know what you're thinking about. A lot of people include like maybe a link to the product if they sell it online, or maybe an image of the product. Maybe highlight some key information, like you said, it's made of metal.
Yes, correct.
That's definitely going to be key, because that could be a case where it's like this has other articles of metal. And
All right.
so if I can't get anything here, definitely email us. And it's looking like our system is down again.
Yes, then I will, yeah, I will definitely that by the end of the presentation when I get your email, and then I'll email you.
Sure. Okay, so let's see. Pin set just popped up. So we can, let's see, condition, not antique, it's not magnetic.
No.
So this is going to say, what's the composition? Is it precious metal, base metal? So probably base metal.
Metal.
That's going to want to know, okay, not cuffling, dress stud. No. So this is imitation jewelry, so that's definitely not it. Let's do firearm. So is it a like pistol, revolver, or those?
As for the AR.
Okay, AR. So is it in use military or no?
No.
So other?
Yes.
So like rifle, I guess?
Yeah.
Okay, is it for sporting, hunting, or target shooting?
Yes, correct.
So in this case, let's see here. Now these seem to be just for firearms, so just the actual rifles themselves.
So is that 9305?
So chapter 93, we can look at other options within 93 here. Yeah, so we got here parts and accessories of articles of heading 9301 or 9304.
Okay.
So 9301 is military weapons, 9304 is other. Oh, 2930. Yeah, so 9303, I believe that's where we were just under. Or 9302. So in this case, we want parts and accessories. So 9305, it's not of revolvers or pistols, it's shotguns or rifles, so we can select that. So shotgun barrel, sound suppressor, silencer, muffler, similar devices.
No.
So
that'll be other.
Yeah, other, because it's not military weapons.
No.
Not. Yeah, so
930520.
9500, yes. In this case, it's in kilograms. So I see a question in the chat about, can you explain what unit of measure is used for?
Yes, a unit of measure. Yes. So because we pack it individual pieces, so when we found the in the EI, so when they ask kilogram, is basically we weigh the whole thing and put it.
Yes, the weight of the shipment.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. So that's for the pin set. I'd imagine your lock to carry the firearm is probably going to be in the same code. Because you said it's if it's for like a rifle as well.
Yes, correct.
Other parts and accessories.
Yes.
So to Jesse in the chat about unit of measure, unit of measure is going to be what the quantity 1 or quantity 2 is going to be measured under. So in this case, in this example, quantity 1 with this HS code 9305209500, quantity 1 would be in kilograms.
Yes.
If you're filing, say, this code right above it, 9100, quantity 1 would be number. So number of sound suppressors or number of silencers that are being shipped. And yes, it should match what's on the commercial invoice, Jesse.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I got you. Yes. So yeah, no problem. So Jennifer, glad to help, and then Jesse in the chat. Hopefully that answers your question about unit of measure. And then I see Tiffany has her hand raised. Can we unmute Tiffany?
There are two different classifications for SSD. One used as a storage device, 847170, and then another one, 8403. So basically, my company, we have two different products, like one with enclosure, and we use as 8523. But then another one, somebody like before me, they use 8471 for the print circuit board. Going to the SSD, that means the print circuit board without, the SSD without enclosure. So I wonder which one is correct. Sorry.
Okay. You did kind of cut out a little bit, but let's try to walk through it. So I guess it's a solid state drive, I imagine.
Correct.
Okay. Again, I apologize. Normally our system is not this slow and it's not down as frequently, but sometimes it happens. Okay. So you can see it makes some assumptions. It's not a toy, obviously. Known characteristics, solid state drive. I assume the technology is a semiconductor.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And the construction, is it solid state, non-volatile?
Yes.
Okay. So this brings us right here to 8523510000, solid state, non-volatile storage devices. So I think you were mentioning something about like a cover.
Yeah, because the SSD has the enclosure, right? But the one that we're talking about, the one is the SSD without enclosure, and which is that is the print circuit board. Print circuit board, right, inside of the SSD. Okay. So so other people classify 8471 as a storage device because they say based on the explanatory notes, they say specifically used for computer.
Okay. Well, let's see. Okay, so direct right to wafer. Testing. Okay, so machines and apparatuses of heading 8486. You're saying 8471.
8471, computer, yes.
Okay, 8471 is not, nothing's popping up for that. Let's pull up.
Can you explain again why they said 8471?
Because they said it used directly through a computer, like other storage device, just like external, internal hard drive, hard disk drive.
Okay, external hard drive.
Yeah, it's not external, but they make it sound like that, like other storage unit.
Okay.
Let me see, like a 8471 7B. Look it up. 76,000.
76,000. So not assembled in cabinets for placing on a table, desk, wall, floor, or similar.
But it is in fact SSD. Patrick, I hate to cut you off, but
yeah, go ahead.
This is my section.
This is your section. So.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. So it is an SSD.
This is a print circuit board. Make it up an SSD. Just like a computer, right? We have a print circuit board with CPU, then it make up a computer.
Right.
This is similar concept. This is the print circuit board. It's gonna make the we become a SSD.
So if the components make it an SSD, it should be classified as a SSD. Can those components be used for anything else, or specifically for SSD?
Right, because I'm looking up the note from somebody. So they said because the explanatory notes, chapter 8471, they say 8471, they say this one you because the SSD used in computer. That's why they classify under 8471.
Because it uses a computer. And what was the number for 8471 again? 8471.
8471, 76,000.
76,000, yeah.
So other storage units.
Can you
tough
do me a favor and send an email to the EID Schedule B and put
Yes.
Crystal and put my name in it, in the title, in the subject line?
Yes. Your name?
Yes. And provide your contact information in there.
Yes, yes.
I don't have a answer for you right now, but I would like to find one.
Yeah, that was a good one. So.
It was.
Thanks for your help, Crystal, because
I'm a little stumped too, but no, that is a good one.
Okay. Nobody else has their hand raised, but I see in the Q&A, Manish asked about a recycled plastic cap. So I might just type in cap. Most likely it's going to be a closure of plastic. So stoppers, lids, caps, and other closures. This code right here, unit measure in kilograms. So whether it's recycled or not, that shouldn't come into play. Let's see, are there any other questions for products? All right, Jose, can we unmute? It looks like you're unmuted, Jose. Are you able to unmute, Jose?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No worries.
So the product is it's a well, the company's a HoodTech. It's HoodTech. It's a EOIR camera sensor that has a laser designator. So it's a camera that's put on an unmanned aerial system.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the HoodTech 11 EOIR.5. I can see if I have the brochure I can give you.
So it's not a camera, it's just a sensor for a camera?
No, it is a camera that's put on an unmanned aerial system, and it's the 11 EOIR.5 with a laser designator. EOIR.
A B.
Yeah. E, Echo, Oscar, I, India, Romeo, 5 with laser designator. Yeah, it's the second one. Multicam 11 EOIR 4.5.
Okay.
That's it.
Provides daytime, night signs.
Yeah, it's got a number of features, so I don't know which one to put it, but essentially it's a camera with
so a lot of times when you have a product that has like multiple features, you need to think of what's called the essential character. The essential character is like the nature, the purpose, or the function of the product. So
Right.
it seems to me like you said, it's a camera. That's its main purpose, or its main function is to view images and so forth. And it might have like other infrared or optical imaging and features and so forth, or a laser tracker. But
Exactly.
probably the base of it, the gist of the product is that it's mainly a camera.
Yes.
So I would just search for camera. Go to the assumptions. Oh, it wants to know about the data processing technology. Is it digital or other? So
Should be
digital. Now it wants to know, is it high speed? Is it radiation hardened or radiation tolerant? So
maybe others.
We can good question. We can kind of go through both of them and see.
I have part of one from another product. Well, I actually have a full 10-digit from a similar one, so
okay, sure.
It may just be that one. So it's 8525.891000. Is that too many?
Was this like an import or was this an export?
That is for an export. It's a US product going many different places.
And it was the same type of camera or same type of product?
Yeah, it's the same type of product. It just has different features.
So high speed took us to 8525, 81.
89 follows that.
Radiation took us to video camera recorder. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it should be 89.
Okay, let's try other, just see where that takes us. So night vision, I think it. So let's try. Okay. So this one, 852589, you said 1000?
Yeah, so somebody put 1000 for the other ones, and it looks like they're listing 1000 for all of them. So I'm not sure if that's correct.
I don't think that would be correct.
For the laser designator.
Yeah, the 1000 doesn't. I don't think that number doesn't exist, at least for Schedule B.
Okay.
You can see nothing comes up. So I.
It seems like we're on the right track, though.
Yeah. I mean, high speed. I mean, I think it was. I'm not exactly sure what radiation hardened, radiation tolerant is. I mean, we can.
I don't think so because that's never been part of the description.
Okay. So, designed or shielded to enable operation in high radiation environments.
No, seems like something pretty significant that I would have heard by now.
Okay, so yeah, so you can probably bypass that one. Maybe high speed. It's not a television camera, video camera, recorder. I mean, I assume it records things.
It can record. I mean, there's using other equipment that's associated with it.
High speed goods is specified in subheading note 1 of this chapter. So,
and I just saw something that said thermal, so that it does have.
Okay, we can check it with thermal. Does it write at speeds exceeding 0.5 millimeter per microsecond?
Yeah, this is where I need the company engineers to ask.
Exactly.
They may actually be on that spec sheet. Some of those weight dimensions. Rate. There is a rate speed.
The slew.
Yeah, I don't know if that's.
Yeah, 60 degrees. That's not gonna right. That's slew. Yeah, this is one you probably need to take to the engineers to see if it meets that requirement.
Right.
Time resolution of 50 nanoseconds or less, or frame rate exceeding 225,000 frames per second. So basically, if it meets one of those descriptions, it would be classified as a high-speed camera.
Okay.
You said you saw thermal.
Yeah, when you were, yeah, there it is, thermal.
This is for like LEDs. Let's see if there's another. All right, thermal imaging cameras.
Yeah, it's a thermal imaging. It can be a lot. Many of them are.
All right, so this, if you look at this one, it says covers night vision cameras, which is use a photocathode to convert available light to electrons, which can be amplified and converted to yield. This subheading excludes thermal imaging cameras, so which would generally be under 852589, which is what you told me.
Mm-hmm. And that's what all of them are listed as. Yeah,
so based on that exception, thermal imaging would take us down here. It's not a television camera.
And you already said there's not a 1000.
There's not a 1000, but if based on that legal note, it says, thermal imaging goes to 852589, I would put it down here at the bottom, because it's not a television camera. It's not a camcorder. So I would use this one because the legal notes are telling you go to 852589 for thermal imaging.
Okay.
So I think your the other one they said was 852589 was right, but the 1000
definitely is not right for all of them.
Not right. Now it is a chance maybe that was
an old one.
It could have been an old one, or it could have been an HTS code, an import code. So
yeah, and I think our company is it sort of has a learning curve right now, and I think in that area, so that's why I was asking about it.
So here, so this is HTS. So this is used to classify imports.
Mm-hmm.
You can see 852589 1000 right here is gyro stabilized television cameras. But that, it's not a television camera.
It is a gimbal side. Yeah, it's a gimbal that has, sort of a turret that spins on.
Yeah. So this is import. So these numbers don't really apply for export, but in this case, like it's not a television camera, and so television camera would be all of these right here. And this isn't a television camera, so you would default down to the other here at the bottom.
Yeah, but that one gyro, I think that's what they keyed in on, because that's
that could be.
It seems like it's a pretty good description, because it is a gimbal. Like even if you see security cameras that have that ball, it's sort of on a turret, and
yep,
it's and I think that describes it.
Okay, so I can see why they keyed in on that word, but it's also under the television camera.
Okay.
So these would all be television cameras first, as opposed to then gyro stabilized. Is kind of what I'm getting at.
Okay.
And so yeah, that's why you go down here and you'd see, okay, these are all television cameras.
So going, I know you're focusing on that, but on the HTS codes. So what they put, I guess if they're they wouldn't be using that, right? Because it's only the 6.
Yeah. So the first 6 would match up on the HTS, and the Schedule B
would be the rest.
You can use HTS codes on your EEI for exports, and our system will convert them automatically to the correct Schedule B code if it exists in most cases. Because as I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned before, but there's about 19,000 HTS codes for import and about 9,000 Schedule B for export.
Mm-hmm.
So in most cases, the HTS has more detailed of a breakout. And so if you're whoever used this 1000 code, if they put that on the EEI, our system would convert that it would have been converted to probably 2500 maybe.
I see.
Because it would go to the first 6 digits, and it would look up, okay, this television camera.
Okay.
Most likely, but But usually you want to start off with the Schedule B search engine, see where that takes you.
So yeah, that must be what they did then. They looked at the wrong search engine and saw that and picked that.
And that happens from time to time. You do need to be aware. There's nothing wrong with using HTS to classify exports. But if you do, you need to be aware of what's called the NOTS list. This is going a little more in the weeds here. But this is the NOTS list is called it's a set of HTS codes that are invalid for use in AES. So the NOTS list is going to be when we have more detailed breakout for the Schedule B as opposed to the HTS. Let me try to find. Which one is it? Yeah, here we go. Did I miss it? Shoot. Which one is it? I always forget what page it's on. Okay. So this is called the NOTS list. It's the HTS codes that are invalid for use in AES. So we can search for. Yeah, so in this case, you can see 8525891000 is on the NOTS list. So that means if whoever in your company put in this code in the AES system to export that camera, you would have received an error message because our system wouldn't know whether to convert that code to 2500 or 3500 or 4000. Because you can see the breakouts of television cameras. For exports, it's color, other, or digital still image video camera. Whereas on the import side, it's television cameras that are gyro stabilized, television cameras that are studio television cameras, excluding shoulder carried and other portable cameras or other. So in this case, we have kind of a different breakout. The Schedule B is a little different of a breakout. So if you tried to use that 1000 code on the EEI, it would not work, and you would get an error message, which means you would have to use a Schedule B code for your camera. And in that case, I think this 5051 is going to be the best, based on that legal note that sent us from thermal imaging to 852589.
Okay.
It's certainly not a television camera, and it's not a camcorder, so 5050 would be the best selection.
5050. Okay.
Yep. Does that kind of make sense? I know I threw some extra things on there that.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think just the distinction between the HTS classification and Schedule B was super helpful, because
Sure.
I think that might have been the mistake that they're
and that could be. It happens quite frequently because it is confusing. You got HTS codes, you got Schedule B codes, and it can get confusing.
Yep. So, thank you very much. I can
no
also
problem.
check with the company as well, see what they have.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. So it looks like John has his hand raised as well. So maybe we can unmute John. And
can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, this is John. That's the. I would like to seek information about any product that you want to produce or sell in the U.S. and see how many units are sold in the U.S.
So it's sold in the U.S.?
Correct.
Okay, so that so we would not have information on that. In Micro, we deal with international trade, so we are going to publish data on exports and imports. So you can get an idea of, you can look up some of these commodities, these 10 commodities, and you can see what's coming in or going out of the country. But in terms of whether it's sold here, that's not going to be something that's published.
Okay. So then to find out how many are imported in the U.S., then I can use this service. Okay.
Yeah, so you can go to USA Trade Online here, and you can. It's free to sign up. You'll be given a username, create a password, and you'll have access to country information, like what countries we import or export to based on certain commodities, maybe ports or districts, what part of the country these products are coming into or leaving the country. You can have access to shipping weight, quantity, value, in some cases, method of transportation, like how is the product being exported abroad or imported. We also have some data based on states. So if you're interested in a particular state.
Got it.
So this is where I would definitely go for that.
Okay.
USA Trade Online.
USA Trade Online. All righty. Got it. I took a screenshot, so I know next time. Sure. Good.
And you can find that through the search engine just right here. It's red box or this link right here. Or just Google USA Trade Online. It should be the first link.
Got it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
All right. Are there any other questions? Let's see. Get everybody. Looks like Danny has extruded aluminum profile with extruded UHMW seal attached to the AL extrusion, possibly with other aluminum extrusions welded in place on the extrusion. So a lot of extrusions there. So let's look at let's see. Maybe aluminum profile. I don't know what's gonna come up with that. So Danny, are you still on the call here? Do any of these assumptions? Okay. Yeah, can we unmute Danny? He just raised his hand.
There's no magnetic property.
Okay. Other magnetic. Okay. Construction, would it be hollow?
Yes.
Okay. What about composition? Is it? I guess it's
aluminum.
Insulating mineral material. So let's stick with other. Function: metal spring, soldering, brazing, welding.
No, it's
Okay.
It's a piece of a machinery. It's a piece of an equipment that we build.
Okay. Is it coated or poured with flux material?
No.
No. Okay. So composition aluminum. Is it a wire?
No.
Okay. Other. Is it alloyed aluminum or no?
Yes.
Okay, aluminum alloy. Okay. Is it a bar rod? Or you said profile, so okay.
Profile.
So we got profile 7604. We have aluminum alloy. You said it's hollow. Is it heat treatable industrial alloys of a kind described in statistical note 3 of this chapter? Let's look at note 3. Heat treatable industrial alloys refers to aluminum containing by weight 3% or less of magnesium and 3% or less of silicone, and or designated to be a series 6 XXX in the Aluminum Association specifications of registered alloys.
So it's 6006, I think. So yes.
Okay, so yes, it is heat treatable. Okay. So in this case, you would use 7604210010, and the unit measure would be in kilograms.
Okay, so even with everything that's been done to that extruded profile.
Yes, because the essential character is that it's still an aluminum profile. So even though it has some other attachments or extrusions,
because I mean, these things are attached to it to make it specifically fit into and function in the machine that we build.
Okay. I would stick with this. I mean, it seems like a pretty accurate one to me.
Okay.
What type of machine is it? Like
it's a conveying system.
Are you shipping the machine in total, or are you just shipping the profiles?
Both. It depends.
Okay. If you're shipping just the profiles themselves, I'd probably stick with this one.
When we in general practice right now, when we sometimes ship the bare profiles also, and those are definitely 7604.
Okay.
But when we've added the other components that make it fit with the machine, we have considered them in practice
as parts of the machine.
Parts of the machine.
Okay, I mean that's a good way of going about it, because if it is a part of the machine, so let's see, is it pneumatic? The power source for the machine, the conveyor?
Hydraulic. It's 8428.
8428. Okay, so other lifting.
8428, 90, 0390.
Okay. Other lifting, other machinery. So this one doesn't really say parts and accessories. That's
84 31 39 is the parts and accessories category.
Okay.
And it just goes back to subheading 28.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, in this case, we have a code specifically for parts and accessories of conveyors related to 8428. So it's not a skip joist, escalator. So other.
Yeah. So we generally use the 10 is what we've considered.
And that makes sense in this case, because it's for parts and accessories, principally for the conveyor 8428. So yeah, I guess I think you're on the right track, that if it has these extra extrusions and is part of the machinery or part of the conveyor, then you'd be fine putting it under here. But if it's not really part of that machinery, then the other code for
the 7604. Yeah, back to the aluminum extrusion. Okay, so I'm pretty confident we're doing it. Doing it right. I just thought I'd throw it out there for.
Yeah, certainly.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Thank you. Okay, I think that's about it. As one last piece of information, I'll put up our contact information.
Okay, great. While Patrick is putting up that information, I certainly want to thank Patrick Kuhn and Crystal Carmen for their knowledge and expertise in assisting in classifying commodities today. And we ran into a technical glitch, but I'm glad you stayed on. Sometimes technology works in your favor, and sometimes there's a little hiccup, but we were able to pivot and keep it moving. So once again, thankful for all the businesses that are on. This shows your due diligence in trying to ensure that you are classifying your merchandise properly. So we do thank you for being on the call today and staying throughout the call, during our little technical glitch. Certainly want to remind you about the upcoming webinars that will be happening on Wednesday, May the 15th and Wednesday, May the 22nd. We hope that you can join us, and please complete the evaluation. This does assist us in providing future content and we're here to serve you. So we certainly thank you. Have the great rest of your afternoon. This completes the webinar.